So the next part of previewing a text for me, I've looked at the back, I've looked at the front. I'm just going to look at the inside cover because that's always a great place to look for additional information. So I'm just going to read what is here, and remembering that I said that I thought it might be a bit of a enemies to lovers type trope last video. So it starts with the quote, "Had I not known you a month before, I felt that you were the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed on to marry." Yikes. Sounds a bit angsty, right? Sounds like someone's kind of getting shot down here. Okay, and then I'll just read the synopsis here. So when Elizabeth Bennet first meets eligible bachelor Fitzwilliam Darcy, she thinks him arrogant and conceited. Darcy finds himself indifferent to Elizabeth Bennet's good looks and lively mind. Later, when Elizabeth discovers that Darcy has involved himself in the troubled relationship between his friend Bingley and her beloved sister Jane, she dislikes him more than ever. In the comedy of misdirected manners that follows, Jane Austen shows readers the error of judging by first impressions. That's really interesting. I remember reading somewhere in the past that a potential first draft of this book was actually titled First Impressions. So reading that, and particularly when Elizabeth sees Darcy and she thinks he's arrogant and conceited, I think that might link to kind of the pride. Okay? That he is arrogant and conceited and he's proud and he thinks he's kind of better than everybody else. And then Darcy finds himself indifferent to Elizabeth Bennet's good looks and lively mind. So even though he admits straight away that she's really smart and charming and he's attracted to her, he finds himself indifferent. And it makes you kind of wonder what type of prejudice he might have about her based on who she is and where she comes from. So those are both kind of interesting observations and things that I'm able to glean just from the cover and just from that inside bit. And I'm just going to look at the back too because it gives us some information about Jane Austen. So Jane Austen, who lived from 1775 to 1817, is the author of the classic novels Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, and Emma. Two other novels, Northanger Abbey and Persuasion, were published after she died in 1818. And interestingly enough, Persuasion is actually my favorite novel. So she published anonymously during her lifetime, and her novels brought her modest recognition, but have since been met with global acclaim and admiration, but within academia and the broader literary world. So interesting in that too, that at the time her name wasn't attached to her novels. And this novel in particular, if we just flip through, because we can always kind of find important information on the first couple pages. And it tells us right here that it was first published in 1813. Okay, so what are some conclusions or some inferences that we could make just based on the publication date itself? Well, it was written in 1813. So this tells me that this might be a bit of a challenging read because people write a lot differently now than they did back then. So that might just be something to think about and take into consideration if you're looking for a book that's a bit of a challenge.